We're going to have a go at some theory of the firm diagrams that aren't in perfect competition. In perfect competition, we know that if you increase price, demand falls straight to zero because you're selling the same things as everybody else and everybody knows it. In other market structures like monopolistic competition or oligopoly or monopoly, if you increase price, some of your customers will stay loyal. You won't lose them all. Even in monopolistic competition, some people will prefer, for example, your restaurant to another one, even if you increase the price. And what that means is that the demand line is downward sloping. So that's revenue and costs, that's demand, which also shows the price at which the firm can sell, so it's AR. For reasons that it's not worth getting into here, marginal revenue is always twice the slope of average revenue, and that's the standard setup for any firm that isn't in perfect competition. So what output will the firm produce? We're assuming that the firm wants to maximise its profits, which seems like a reasonable assumption. To do that, it needs to make all the units that add more to its revenue than they do to its costs. Marginal revenue shows the extra revenue. That's plus revenue from each unit. Marginal cost shows the extra cost from each unit. So what you want to do is you want to make all the units that add more to revenue than they do to cost. So if you stay at Q1, you'll have made that unit, which added that much to revenue and that much to cost. So your profits would have gone up. You want to make that unit, which adds that much to revenue and that much to cost. So your profit would have gone up. So all the units up to Q1, they add more to revenue than they do to cost. So therefore Q1 is the profit maximising output. Once you've found the profit maximising output, what you've then got to do is to say, well, how much is that profit? The way you do that is you simply say, well, in order to find profit, I've got to find total revenue minus total cost. So that's DAR, that's MR again. Let's assume the firm's making a profit. So we'll have an average cost curve that looks like that. So we've said that the firm will produce Q1, at which marginal revenue equals marginal cost. At that output, all we've now got to do is to say, well, okay, what price does the firm charge? That's determined by the demand line. So P1 times Q1, that's the firm's total revenue. And all we then need to say is, well, how much does it cost the firm to produce? Now, marginal cost is no use for this purpose because it only tells us the extra cost of the last unit. It doesn't tell us anything about fixed costs, and it doesn't tell us anything about the cost of all the other units. So the one we need is we need average cost, the cost per unit overall. And all we then do is say, well, we're making Q1, the average cost is that line there, so we simply find C1. So the orange area is the firm's total cost, the large blue area is the firm's profits, so that means that overall, the large blue area is the firm's revenue, which means that overall it's made a profit of that area there. Blue area is big blue area, price times quantity, total revenue. Orange area, total cost. Therefore, the red area at the top is revenue minus cost, and that's profits. So that's your basic diagram. So what we've got to be able to show then is what happens if things change. And there are only really three things that can change. One, demand can go up or down. Two, fixed costs can go up or down. Or three, variable costs can go up or down. So let's take each of those in turn. Let's suppose that there is a sudden increase in demand. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our base diagram, DAR, MR, there's AC, and there's MC, they're always the same. So what's going to happen is that, we'll mark in the original profit maximising output, and in this case, the firm's original profit. I've started with a firm that's making a profit. And let's suppose then that, demand increases, so D shifts to D2. The thing that people tend to forget at this point is that if AR shifts, then so too does MR. So we need to shift the marginal revenue line there. And even when people remember that, they then tend to forget that as a result of MR shifting, the profit maximising output also shifts. So that's where MR2 equals MC. The firm's making more units. We then say the new price is P2. The new cost happens to be around there, that's a coincidence, but it's C2. Therefore, the firm is now making a larger profit like that. So the key to this one, an increase in demand means that one, AR goes up, two, MR goes up, and therefore 3, the profit maximising output changes. Yeah, and therefore 4, we find a new average revenue and a new average cost. Let's suppose that there's a change in fixed costs. Yeah, so that's our second scenario. This is the easiest of all of them. So let's suppose that, I'll do the 3 favourable changes here. So let's suppose that there is so we've had an increase in demand. Let's suppose there's a decrease in fixed costs. The point about this one is that there's no effect on the marginal cost. And the reason is that this is something like your rent. Well, the rent doesn't affect the cost of making this individual pen. Yeah, it increases the cost overall, but it doesn't affect the cost of the plastic or the cost of the ink and so on and so forth. So therefore, it only affects average cost. So that one's therefore that's the easiest of all of them to draw. Yeah, there's DAR, there's MR, there's AC initially, there's MC. Again, I'll start with a firm that's making a profit. That's Q1, that's R1 or P1, and that's C1. All we're going to do is we're going to say, so average cost goes down. Yeah, so AC falls, to say there, as a result of the decrease in fixed costs. So because MC and MR haven't changed, the profit maximising output stays the same. So all that happens is that costs fall to C2. So profit now is the big orange area, whereas before it was the slightly smaller red area, R1 minus C1. And the last one would be a decrease in variable costs. Again, obviously they could increase here, but I'm doing the favourable changes here. So let's suppose there's a decrease in variable costs. So this now is a decrease in the cost of the plastic and the ink and so on. Yeah, so that leads to a decrease in marginal cost, and it also therefore leads to a decrease in average cost, because average cost is made up of average variable costs and average fixed costs. So if average variable cost goes down, then so will average cost. And obviously if the cost of the ink and the plastic changes, the cost of each individual pen changes as well, so marginal cost changes. So this one's a bit of a pain in the arse to draw, but again, we'll have a revenue cost there. Again, we'll start off with a firm making a profit. There's DAR, there's AC, there's your MC. Originally Q1, up to the demand curve gives us price, average cost gives us cost. So what we're now going to do is we're going to reduce average cost, AC2, and we're going to reduce marginal cost to MC2. Yeah, so they both, remember that a decrease, remember costs and revenue are measured here, so you're thinking vertically. So a reduction in marginal average cost means that both the curves are moving downwards, vertically downwards from where they were. So again, because this time MC has changed, the profit maximising output has changed because costs are lower. The firm now produces more. We then say where is the new price? It's determined by the original demand line, but in order to sell more units, the firm has had to reduce its price. And the new average cost is the new orange line there, AC2. So unsurprisingly, the firm's profits have now gone up. Its variable cost went down. Originally, it had profits P1 minus C1 times Q1. Now it has profits of P2 minus C2 times Q2. So that's it. Obviously, they could combine those things. They could say that there's an increase in revenue and a decrease in variable costs at the same time. But you just do them. Take it step by step, and you'll get the right answer. In the notes below, I've put all 6 scenarios in so you can see what they look like. Hope that's useful, and see you again soon.